Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Rose and you're watching Home with Hannah. In today's video, we are going to be making some bread together, so keep watching to find out how to make it from scratch. So we are going to be making bread today, and for me, I thought bread was going to be very difficult to make, but I tried it for the first time last week. As you might have seen in my Spend the Day With Me video, I really wanted to share with you guys like a step-by-step how to do it in that video, but I thought that would be way too long. So I've decided to split up the videos, and I'm going to be sharing with you in the future some of my favorite recipes and things to cook and bake from scratch. I think there's no better feeling than baking things and cooking things at home. It's so rewarding when it comes out really good and you're just so proud and everyone loves it, and it's just such a good feeling. So I really wanted to share with you how to make this easy bread recipe. I think after last week it coming out okay, I wanted to share it with you guys, and then we can be bread makers together. And I think it's so cool to be able to make your bread at home from scratch. No bread maker needed. This is just simple. Make it with your hands from scratch and it comes out a beautiful big loaf of bread. So let's go through step by step what you'll need for this recipe, and then I'll be showing you how to do it. Right, so one thing that you're definitely going to need is a loaf tin. Just find like a slightly larger version of the bread tin or the tins that like most people have around their home, or you might already have a bread tin, so there you go. But yeah, definitely need one of these. You're going to need some oil. I'm going to be using vegetable oil. And you're also going to need some bowls. So I've got like this bowl and a big mixing bowl. I like having quite a big bowl so that once the dough is ready to start rising, I can place it in here with a bit of oil and let it rise. So yeah, those are a few things that you'll need, as well as you'll need a measuring cup. Do excuse my really old ratty looking measuring cup. It's been used a lot. And I also have this other measuring cup which I find really handy, like little measuring spoons and stuff like that. And some things that you'll need is honey, some white bread flour. That's what I've got. I've got some bread flour. So I've just got this little thing of yeast, and this is exactly what we need to add to our mixture. So this is nice and easy. You don't have to measure it out yourself. You just pour it in. So that makes it a lot quicker. Okay, so I'm gonna put my apron on so I don't make a mess all over my dress. I said this in my vlog, but I love these Kath Kidston aprons, and I was at their store the other day and I didn't buy any, but they had even better ones. Like these are like a good material, but if you got something on them they'd need washing, whereas they had these other ones that were like more of a plasticky waxy material that you'd be able to wipe clean. So yeah, so I'm gonna pop my apron on. And you'll see why we need this in a moment, because bread and flour and stuff, it just gets really messy. So what you want is you want to have 1 1/4 cup of warm water. We are going to take our warm water and we're going to first add some honey. So with the honey, we want to add 1½ tablespoons of honey. I'm then going to add my little packet of yeast. You literally just pour that in. Don't mix it, just let it sit on the top of the warm water. I'm now going to be taking my big mixing bowl and I'm going to be putting the flour in and all of the other little ingredients, and I'm going to be taking you step by step. So I'm going to start by adding 1½ tablespoons of oil. We are then going to be adding 4 cups of the bread flour. So I've got my little measuring thing here and I'm going to be measuring out 4 cups. going to add to your mixture is some salt. So I'm just going to be using some table salt. I find this easier. I mean, you can use whatever salt you've got in, even if it's Himalayan salt, sea salt, whatever. This one I'm baking is the easiest, maybe the most unhealthy option, but it's easy to just pour in. So I just need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I've got my 1.5. So I've got 1 teaspoon of salt. Just be careful when pouring the salt in. You definitely don't want to over salt it. And then another little half, right? And then what I like to do is I like to just whisk that mixture through while I'm waiting for my yeast to kind of settle in the water. I am just going to mix the salt into the flour just to distribute it evenly. And this is as simple as it is. Like, there's no other ingredients really to add. There's obviously more steps that I'm going to be talking you through, but we've basically done everything. All we need to do is just keep mixing, and then we're going to be kneading the bread, which is fun. And then it's just quite a long process, but you'll see that it's very, very straightforward and easy. Right, so the next thing to do once you've mixed in the salt is just to create a little hole, kind of a little like, I don't know what to call it, just a little hole in your flour where the yeast is going to be poured into. So just create that little bit of a dip in the center of your flour. We're going to take our yeast and water and honey mixture and just pour it into the center of your flour. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mix in the yeast and the water. So I like just taking a wooden spoon. So I'm going to take a wooden spoon and then just mix that in. So now comes the fun part. We're going to want to take off our rings if you've got some on. Let me just wash my hands. I'm going to take my rings off, and then we're going to start working with our hands with the dough. So what I have done is I have just put the dough ball into this bowl, and as you could see, I poured a little bit of oil into the bowl, just mixed it around so that the dough doesn't stick to the bowl, and I just covered the dough with a little bit of the oil by just kind of moving it around. And then what you can do is you can put cling film over the top, or what I like to do is just put a damp cloth over the top of the bowl, and this allows it to rise. So we're going to put a timer on for 1 hour. I would suggest maybe doing a little bit of cleanup or something, or watching your favorite TV show, because then the time goes by really quickly. So we are just covering the dough, and then you can check on the dough because there's a clear bowl there. So we will check back in 1 hour. Okay, so the moment of truth, I've been letting the dough just rise for around about an hour, and I just want to have a little peek at it, see if it's doing good. Look at that rise, that's really good. Wow. Do you remember how small that little ball of dough was? Now it's, oh wow, that's really, really good. Let's take this off now. So our dough has rised. You can see. So what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to work with this dough and then put it in a bread tin loaf. So as you've seen, the dough's rised quite high. You can see it's filled the bowl, and that's what you want. But basically there's loads of air trapped in that dough now, and we want to knead it again. So we've already done some kneading before putting it into here, and now we're just going to knead it again, just to get all the air out, and then we're going to like form it into our loaf tin. So we're going to be molding it into our tin. I'm going to be showing you again step by step how to do that. But this is so amazing. I'm so proud of the dough. Very, very happy about that. So again, wash your hands, clean your surfaces off, make sure all of that dough that kind of stuck onto your countertops before is wiped off, and now we're just going to start the process again. Like I said, it does take a little bit long, this whole process. What I'm going to do to prep it is I'm going to be taking some vegetable oil. I'm just going to be taking a little bit, oops, a little bit, she says, as she pours a whole bunch. You're just going to spread that around the tin. Now, once you've kneaded your dough and you've put it into your loaf tin, we're going to want to let it rise again in this loaf tin to kind of shape the dough. I've tried my best to kind of shape it into the loaf size, but I don't know how that will turn out. Okay, so I've just finished putting the dough into the loaf tin. The next thing to do is to let the dough rise in the loaf tin for another 30 minutes. So like I said, this is quite an easy thing to make. However, you need to give yourself time to bake it because it's quite a long process. It takes longer to let the dough rise than it actually does to bake it. We're only going to be baking it for about 30 minutes. So cover your loaf tin with a damp towel again, cling film, or you can do both, and we're going to put it in the microwave. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a bowl of water. I'm going to put the microwave on for about 30 seconds to 1 minute so that the bowl of water makes the microwave very steamy. It gives it that steamy environment. And then I'm going to be placing this loaf tin with the bowl of water in the microwave. We're not going to be turning the microwave on, but we are just going to be placing the tin in the microwave so that it can rise in a more steamy environment, like I said. So I'm going to be turning the oven on to about 200 degrees Celsius, I believe this is, because I live in the UK, so I always have to check conversion rates with recipes and stuff. So yeah, our oven, it's 200 degrees. And I will preheat that at about 180 for now, and then I'll turn it up a little bit before we get started. So that's preheating. So I'm gonna set a timer for 30 minutes. I just got this little timer on my oven, and I've put 30 minutes on my timer, and in 30 minutes we will check on the dough. So I kind of forgot to update you guys when I was putting it into the oven, but basically I put it in the oven at 190 degrees. I've just turned the oven off because my timer's gone off, and you want to bake the bread for about half an hour to 40 minutes. I've actually baked it for 35 minutes. I put a timer on for 30 minutes, then left it to kind of bake a little bit longer, 5 minutes longer, and I'm now going to be taking it out of the oven. I think it looks pretty nice. It's not too bumpy at the top or anything. Whoops. Can we get it out while I'm holding a camera? I don't know. This could be dangerous. 1 second, guys. Gotta get a good grip. Okay. It's actually not 8:15, by the way. It's actually 3:40. I don't know how to like fix this. I've tried before and then it like goes back, so I don't know. But yeah, so we've got a beautiful loaf of bread, and I think that's a perfect color as well. Like, that's what you see, you know, when you go and you buy a loaf of bread or like a French bread, like long stick of bread, that's the color that we've got. So I think we've done quite well. So now what I'm going to do, I've just prepped this. I've got a really scratched cutting board, which I kind of need to replace now, but I never want to like throw it away because it's got this cute little heart, but I'll probably have to get rid of it soon. I've just covered it with the baking paper just because of the scratches. I just wanted to make sure that it was covered. So I'm going to place on here and just let it rest for a little bit. So yeah, let's take it out of the loaf tin, place it onto a countertop, cutting board, I don't know what you've got, like a bread board, whatever, and just let it rest and kind of cool down a bit, because although it's so tempting to cut into it right away, it's too hot to touch, so we need to let it cool down for a little bit. So let's do that, and yeah. Okay everyone, so let's get the bread onto the board. Be careful because it's still really, really hot. Obviously it's just gotten out of the oven. So make sure you have a towel or something just to hold onto it. And I would recommend like a spatula or like a pancake spatula, something like that, just to make sure that you get the sides, so make sure they're not stuck. And we're just going to flip it. So I'm just gonna need both hands. And I'm just going to flip the bread tin. Woo! So that's it for today's video. I hope you don't mind. In the distance, my oven is just cooling down, so it's making a funny noise. But I'm just here with my bread. And thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you so much for spending the day with me and baking, and just try it out for yourself. It's honestly not that difficult, and if you've tried it before, you'll know. It's just a little bit longer of a process, but so rewarding in the end, and definitely delicious. I couldn't help myself. I've already had the end bit, because the end bit's always the best, because I love the crust. I love the crust of bread. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and until next time, I'll see you in my next video. Bye everyone!